Thank you for your time and coming here. Thank you, Howard, for inviting and people here. And Kyle, it's a pleasure to meet another guy who is working with youth. You will understand me the most, I guess, what we are going through today. It's not simple to work with young people, especially because they are influenced by Instagram, YouTube, and gaming situations. And that makes it even harder for parents to, I guess, to control their kids, to control what they watch, to control what they do. And it's harder to, it seems like that you are not raising your kids, but the world is. And so it's tough on that. But as missionaries, we always think about ways, creative ways to touch young people's lives. And the ultimate goal is, of course, for them to know Jesus Christ as their personal savior. But also another goal is to stay in his home, in his church. And that's what we try to do. So again, thank you for coming and thank you for joining on Zoom. That's a privilege to be able to talk. Is somebody on Zoom or not yet?
We'll record it.
I'll record it and then give it. Okay. Anyway, I'll want to say thank you for watching the recordings afterwards of my presentation. So, kind of give an introduction. I told you about my history and where I come from and what I've been through this war that we had in Yugoslavia. And I guess that shaped also me as a person. And now starting a ministry in a country that is 80% Catholic, that was my setting. And I was trying to figure out, not only me, but also we are here across Italy. So just for you to kind of get a sense of where Croatia is positioned. We share the same sea, but we always say we have the better half of the sea. We have 1,100 islands, which makes our country very attractive and touristic. But it's also not. I would say from the outside, you would think that Croatia is a very rich country, but then because of corruption and all the wars that we had, this is not the case. And this is a close view of the countries that were once together, creating Yugoslavia, but now are each country is a separate country, creating Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, Montenegro, North Macedonia, and Kosovo. You will see Kosovo. I don't know if you can see Kosovo is here. And you see the border lines are different. This is why, because Kosovo was recognized by the world as an independent country, but it's not recognized by Serbia yet. And so that makes it tough. Even when I'm traveling from North Macedonia to Kosovo, I cannot go to Serbia. I'm illegally in the country, so I cannot go into Serbia from Kosovo. I can enter Serbia from Macedonia here, or from Bosnia, or from Croatia, but I cannot enter here and then go towards Serbia. So it's very difficult. And last year, almost a war broke out in Kosovo again because of the tension between Albanians and Serbian people. So it's a tough area. Bosnia is even tougher because it has, as you know, we were divided also by religions. We had Orthodox on the east, Serbia was Orthodox and Macedonia is Orthodox. Then Croatia is Catholic and leaning more to the west. And you have Bosnia, all three of them inside. You have Muslim, Orthodox, and Catholics, mostly Muslim. But that makes it hard in Bosnia to even have a government of three different ethnicities. and this is causing rivalries as well, because most of the people want to lean towards the West, but the Serbian and Orthodox, they want to stay with Russia. So that's the complication in all this, and now it's even more complicated. But in such a setting of Croatia, we wanted to see, okay, we have this culture of being Catholics. So how? What's the voice? What's the voice of Croatia? That was something we were asking ourselves. How can we bring the gospel to the young people? So instead of actually excluding the whole tradition, we included some of the tradition of the Catholic Church and started to make connection with them. Stations of the Cross is something very Catholic. Mm-hmm. And so we thought, how can we actually use that model, that stations model they have, and bring some content in, bring some interactivity in, so that the young people can actually connect what they see and read with their own lives. And this is how we started to, this is very Catholic, right? You have these stations, but then we brought in some stuff. We asked the young people to take a nail if they're ready to go with Jesus on the journey. If not, they can wash their hands like Pilate. So they have sanitizer there. They can wash it. So it's been very creative, made in a sense of them understand what they are actually doing and going through. There was a station where Jesus fell underneath the cross, and it's biblical story that we saw that in the Bible that Jesus was, falling, and so we are asking young people, who is helping you when you fall, or who are you helping to get up when somebody falls? So how to be Christ-like? That is always the question, right? So we ask young people to write the name of the person that is helping them while they are down or falling. And so we have many kids coming from schools to this, and we lead them. This is a very creative station we created. It's you see the stone represents the sin, and they are actually writing on a piece of foil their sin, something that their parents don't like, God doesn't like. And then they dip it into this water and it washes away. It's just like a creative way to symbolic of what happens once you know Jesus, right? Mm-hmm. Your sin is forgiven. And this is how we created these 5 senses stations. God gave us 5 senses, so we thought how to use them to teach young people. So they would carry a cross to feel the weight. This is how somebody was dipping the foil into the water. This is how that looks. So at one point, I can show it here. Just a second. At one point, I was looking who is going on the stations or on our stations of the cross. And I recognized and I saw this person carrying the cross. It's a Muslim woman.
Oh, wow.
And I was very shocked. You see? So it's amazing how our stations of the cross were actually moving different people from different religion even. And she just needed it. She had her own reason, but I was like shocked because she's a Muslim and carrying a cross. Mm-hmm. But there was something else.
Did you actually talk to her about?
Yes. Well, she was not open to talk a lot, but I prayed for her, and I said, if that is something you need, you're very welcome. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But they would also come to this station where they can write down what they're thankful for, or they carry a pain, or they're angry maybe, or they want to just simply ask Jesus for help in their next test or whatever. They can write down and nail it in front of the cross. And so they would all nail it down. And I can tell you that some of the nails I hardly could take out because some of energy went into the hammering the nail down. But it's an excellent interactivity of just give your emotions and everything you have to Jesus.
Is that a nun right there too?
Yes.
Okay.
Our surprise was actually that the nuns and priests loved it. They brought a lot of young people with them, and it has built a relationship with them. First year was they were suspicious. What are we even doing there? But then they invited us, and it became very traditional for us to come every Easter and set it up. So different stations. So our ministry was a lot about schools and how to build stations and exhibitions that actually were interactive, so that the young people can learn more about the Bible, for instance. This particular exhibition was being asked from the Christian Protestant Alliance to set up an exhibition about the Bible, to motivate young people to read the Bible again, which is a challenge today, right? Having all this YouTubes and PlayStation. If I want to, show PlayStation, that's and ask young people to play on PlayStation, that's going to be something they want to do. And Bible is something that young people, unfortunately, read less and less. And so how to motivate them? That was our question. And so we set up this exhibition to show how it was developed, how Reformation came to be. So we set up this history part, which the young people didn't like. They had, again, history, and this all we set up in a history museum that we got for free for 3 weeks in our city. But we wanted to show them something very interesting, and that created a lot of discussion. This is actually a price list that people had to pay for indulgence for their sin in Reformation time. So it's an exact translation of how much they had to pay for certain sin. So and that was really interesting, because if you stole something from the church, you would have paid $900 to be forgiven. In that time, $900 was a lot. But if you kill a villager, then you paid only $40. Molesting a wife or a woman would cost you $200. But it's nothing comparing to $900 of stealing something from the church. There was something wrong, right? So we also try to create stations that are kind of familiar to them. Johann Sebastian Bach. Everybody knows who Johann Sebastian Bach is, but not a lot of people know that he was inspired by Reformation, that his composers were, or how do you say, compositions were signed SDG, Sola Deo Gloria, that he was the father of the worship we know today. Lay people started to sing, right? By that time, the choirs were singing, not the lay people. But now Bach said, no, we all should sing. Luther was saying we should all read the Bible. So that's how it started to be more focused on people. Then we created this tree, and the root of the tree was Jesus. And then the tree has many branches, and you see the branches. The branches are representing the churches, how they started and when they started. You have the Baptists, you have the Orthodox, you see the years when they started, the Lutheran and the Methodists and so on and so on. What we wanted to show with this tree is that we have the same root, we have same Christian values, but we are different. So how can we sometimes more concentrate on the values and the root than on the differences?
If we tell about the words you projected there that would change.
The words were projected here, like the everlasting life, Lord's Supper, Jesus, all the Christian foundation that we have in common. Then we created this Bible exhibition, and we had here we had showing how the Bible was developed, and it was called from manuscript to iScript, because at the end you had an iPad, and young people could download by using QR codes the app, the Bible app. But it was showing how the Bible developed. Then we created this table of where the young people could actually copy a Bible verse by using a feather, how it was used to copy it by rabbis. And it was explaining how it was cautiously done. And it was not just a simple copy of a book that we know today, but it's copied very cautiously so that we have an accurate version of the Bible today and read it. So we also had some facts that when a rabbi was copying God's name, he had to wash himself from top to bottom all the time, be clean, things like that. So we also had the kids, by the way, loved it. You know, something about the feather. What was a problem was to get the feather. I couldn't find it in any store, so I was kind of in trouble because we had this idea to do, but no feather. So I was in the capital, and all of a sudden I was turning my head towards a zoo, and I called the zoo to get me some feathers to make it happen. We had the Gutenberg press, and I was the Gutenberg. Knowing German, I was playing the Gutenberg. But they actually had an opportunity to press a psalm on the Gutenberg press. And that made kids really, interested into how actually, you have a press that first time pressed the Bible. And everybody received the psalm, could carry with them. We had over 2,000 kids coming from the school to actually do that. And some teachers would even have that psalm now in the classroom as well. We had the smallest Bible in the world, so it's about half of this, a foil, nothing else. The whole Bible is on it, so it was watchable through the microscope, and all verses were watchable under the microscope. Then we created this river of mercy. This word, milost, božanská milost, means God's mercy, right? And so we created this river, and at the end of the river, water comes out. Wow. And we did the same station that I showed you with the foil and writing the sin, and then dipping it under the river. So we had classes coming in, so we would sit with them, we would talk to them. We had a treasure box full of Bibles. So we offered the young people to take a Bible, which they did at the end of the exhibition. They saw Bible verses, they saw the Bibles, they were happy to receive one. We had this Bible verse of Matthew 17:20b saying about the mustard seed. And we gave each kid a mustard seed on the hand to watch and to read the verse and then to plant it. Yeah, and we had a little boy who was actually a little bit more being a kid, and he took a bunch of these seeds and throw it in the fountain, and then I'll show you what happened.
Back that slide.
Yeah. Wait. Going back. Can you see it?
So yeah, they sprouted.
and it's growing in the stone.
Oh my goodness.
And there was even a better symbolic.
Wow, living water.
Anyway, it was, you see all the kids holding up Psalm and the Bibles. That was something special for us. And this is how we liked actually to create stations, like to actually bring those stations to the schools. We would set up sometimes stations in the school as well. But the problem was COVID, right? The COVID hit, our connection to school was lost. What can we do now? That was our question. And we, at one moment, we didn't want to just stop and say, okay, we'll wait until COVID is passing and then we'll go into schools again. But we asked seriously, God, what can we do? How can we do ministry in this today's world that is having COVID? And so we tried to concentrate more on media stuff. So we opened a studio. We tried to figure out smaller groups that we meet with, outside sport, and so on and so on. So we did some things that we never did before, and the ministry grew just because we listened to God. So this is Melanie. She is one of our staff. And she was here actually the first 3 weeks, and then she had to leave, so she couldn't be with you today. But that's her family, and this is us, my family, my 2 sons, or our 2 sons actually, to be correct.
It's best that way.
Yes, and this is the team. You have on the right side Ivan, who used to work for TV station for 10 years, has a great experience, and so he's leading now the media studio at Youth for Christ. Neda is leading Superwoman that I will explain you just in a minute, and Sinisha is he moved to Šibenik, Dalmatia area down south on the coast, where we started a new ministry just last year. And then, and then us. So I guess, Kyle, Zoom was something very familiar to all of us in the time of COVID, but we hardly waited to get together again. So we started to build a studio at our church. Our church gave us some space for that. And we started to record TV shows. We had a set. And the thing is that actually, and that will surprise you, is that we applied to an agency, media agency, Croatian state agency, for some funds. And we thought that we will not get it. But our surprise was when we actually received a positive answer that they will give us funds for TV program. And they loved it this year, what we did, and so they gave it last year. So they gave another funds for this year.
Excellent.
So you have to know that in the Croatia, still the law is that 15% of the program on the national TV needs to be religion-based. So if you have good programs, you can actually get your programs onto the national TV. And this is what we are trying to do now. But the studio is not only about recording, and this is my son helping, he's a media technician, but it's also about training, how to train young people from different churches around Croatia to actually do media stuff. Because they have already some knowledge about how to film, but you need to help them to be experts, to use the programs, softwares, or cameras, on how to put lights on, and so on and so on. This is what we do across Croatia, give some training. This year in October, we will have a training on streaming, helping churches to stream well. We help churches actually to equip them with equipment for streaming, and help them and teach them how to use it. Because many churches need streaming, but they don't know how or have not the equipment for. But then we are experts to help them. We do streaming of different concerts that we do. but also we were invited by a Baptist church in Petrinja, where my wife comes from, to do a video about. So a year ago we had a huge earthquake at my in-laws. So you can imagine, first my in-laws had the war, going through the war, and before the war they lost their son. Then in October last, so 2020, they their house almost burned down, and then after we fixed the house, only 2 months later, the earthquake hit, 6.5, and the downtown was destroyed. So all these government buildings are now empty because they cannot be used anymore. People are living in containers. So the church, in many ways, was a community church and helping these people there. And I was almost every week there. One Saturday I would dig a channel to help people to connect pipes for sewage and for water. Then I would help to fix kitchens into the containers. Then all of a sudden I was on the roof and helping to change a roof. So I was doing stuff that I was never doing before, but it was a helping hand, to be a helping hand to the people that lost their homes. And the church asked us to do a program of encouragement, of message to the city. The choir was singing 5 songs, and so we filmed it and helped them to do it with the studio. So the studio is a blessing to not only us and to young people, but also to the churches as well. And it connects us with the church as well. Superwoman is a program that was developed in the Netherlands. And it was about helping young girls, teenage girls, with their self-esteem, with their, being in depression, or because of their image, how they need to be and they cannot be, what the internet is showing, or having problems at home. But creating a space was important for them to where they can talk, where they can share what the problems are, and the program is actually helping in a deeper level, on a deeper level. So it's not a youth group; it's more like a really therapy, yeah, counseling, yeah, trying to really go see what the problems are in their lives and how can we help.
Hi, I'm Melanie. Our desire is to help girls and young women, to empower them and help them on their journey of becoming a superwoman. And thank you for choosing to be part of this journey.
So this next video, also short video, is some of the testimonies of the girls that are actually going, because once we started, in 1 year, we started actually Superwoman in 3 cities, 4 groups. So it's kind of amazing how it goes and how this is everything allowed by the parents, because they have to give their permission. for their daughters to actually come, because it's 12, 13, 14, 15 years old daughters that are teenage girls that are coming to these groups.
Bok, ja sam Nina, imam 16 godina.
Dobar dan, ja sam Dunja, dolazim iz Rijeke.
Ja sam Ines, imam 14 godina.
Ja sam Ema Beriš, imam 12 godina. Ja sam Lore Zlatoper, imam 14 godina.
Dobar svima, ja sam Lorena Lahov, imam 12 godina.
Thank you so much for being part of Superwoman in Croatia, for helping us reach out for teenage girls who really need to see how valuable they are in God's eyes and to feel His love in a concrete way. We have groups going on already and we see how valuable this is for them. They tell us that.
Superwoman mi je važan zbog prijatelja, zbog prikazivanja osjećaja i zbog zabave.
Volim dolaziti na Superwoman zato što mi to baš poboljša dan i nastavite ovo organizirati.
Superwoman mi je važan jer je ovo mjesto gdje imam podršku od prijatelja i stvarno je jako zabavno.
Ova radionica je korisna i pomaže jer razvijamo iskrenost i samouvjerenost. Superwoman mi pomaže da učvrstim svoje samopouzdanje i volim biti ovdje.
Superwoman radionica mi je pomogla dosta i još uvijek mi pomaže da se maknem od svih strahova koje imam i pomaže mi oko svih osjećaja da se suočim s njima.
Thank you so much for the support in making this actually happen.
And those are the groups in different cities. Then in Netherlands, the materials that were created by Youth for Christ Netherlands was so accepted and it was well done that the state started to finance actually the program in Netherlands. So it's amazing what it has done in so far in over 5 countries around Europe. And we will have actually training this year to start groups in North Macedonia, Kosovo, and Albania as well. We started a ministry in Šibenik that I mentioned. And Šibenik is breathing and living basketball. Some of the good players of NBA came from Šibenik as well. A known person that you might know is Dražen Petrović, who was the best player of NBA, came from Šibenik, but then he died was killed in a car accident when he was on peak of his career. And this is his picture here. But we wanted to start a ministry with the basketball teams and clubs. And we met with a miracle, or I would say not a miracle, it's God's, guidance and bringing us this man to our attention was a person who is actually overseeing all the clubs in Šibenik. And he clicked with us and he said, well, this is great what you want to do. I will make sure you enter all the clubs. And so we started a camp there with the coaches that were very suspicious of us. But now we have even the 3rd camp. They're inviting us over and over again. It's really a blessing to be among the kids and also having the group talks we have with and team building and bringing the Christian values to them through this basketball. This is the girls coach, and he said, I heard that you have something like Superwoman. Can you present to the parents this project? And so we presented it, and now some of the girls you saw in the video are actually from the clubs coming to Superwoman. And this is how it works. Then we coach them, but then we also sit with them and talk.
You might, Ruben, since there's not a Superman program, tell them about the role the basketball situation plays for the boys.
So basketball camp is actually something that will develop into Superman. Superman was created as well by the Dutch organization, but it didn't work. Simply because the boys, they don't go into emotions so easy like girls. They need something like basketball. They need some kind of action before they have reaction. That's how it works with the boys. So basketball helps to actually talk to them. In the small group, actually one boy admitted that he's very hostile, that he has anger management problems, that he is always on the bench because of his reactions and never playing because of that. And so he was sharing that with us, and the coaches couldn't believe, because he would never admit it, but it was this atmosphere that we created for him to actually talk about it and see how he can maybe start to control his angerness. So I didn't stop just leading and working as a missionary in Croatia. After 24 years, I've been invited by the president of Europe Youth for Christ to be the regional director of the Balkan region. And that meant for me to go to the Balkan region, to other countries like Bosnia, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Albania, Bulgaria, Serbia, and Kosovo, and to start Youth for Christ there, and train people, help them with resources, whatever I can. So I started in North Macedonia and Kosovo, and last year we opened Youth for Christ in North Macedonia, and this year we'll open Youth for Christ in Kosovo. The thing is that I didn't just come and open Youth for Christ, just saying, okay, we open everywhere Youth for Christ organization. For us, it was important to build a relationship with the church. So I would come to like North Macedonia, for instance, and I would gather 8 pastors from different churches, and I would just simply ask, do you need us? If you need us, we'll come. If you don't need us, we'll not come. So why did I do that? Because I need the cooperation of these pastors. We cannot do the job alone. For us, it's important to build the network, build the relationship with the churches so we can work together. And this is why the pastors are now sitting in the board, for instance.
So are those Protestant pastors that you're talking about?
Yes, Protestant pastors, yes. Some of them I knew from before, and somebody I would just invite to a meeting, and we built a relationship. And now some of them are sitting in the board and overseeing what Youth for Christ is doing. But it's a cooperation, and this is what we want to do as Youth for Christ, and they like it, because many organizations that come, they actually don't ask churches anything, and they take even young people out of the church, and then the churches have a problem. So this is what we want to avoid. This is Alban. He is the new coordinator of Youth for Christ in Kosovo. An interesting story of him is that he is a former Muslim. So he's converted Muslim. He works a lot with Muslim kids, and when I met him, he showed me this center, and he said, "Ruben, this center was a torture house during the war. After the war, it was a prostitute house, so it had not a good reputation at all. But we turned it into a house of hope, and now kids are inside this house, same center, having programs. This is what the city like. They started to help with building this playground, but it's amazing what God can turn around. And this is in the middle of a Muslim community. And this is Alban, saying a few words.
Dear friends, my name is Alban Krasnici and I'm from Kosovo. I am addressing to you through this video to ask your prayers and your support to start Youth for Christ in our nation. Kosovo is a small country located in Eastern Europe. We have 2 million inhabitants that are living in our nation. 96% of population belongs to Islam religion. We have only 2,000 born-again Christians in our nation. We have at least 40 Christian institutions who are doing different ministry in our nation. I believe with all of my heart, seeing this fact and seeing the great need that is in our nation, that Youth for Christ is going to be a great tool and great support for churches and for our nation. We have the youngest population in Europe. We have great ministry that's happening among young people and children. But sometimes we feel that we don't have the right resources, right tool. So for that, I'm addressing to you to help us to start this great tool in our nation. I believe with all of my heart that Youth for Christ is going to change our nation. Youth for Christ tools, Youth for Christ resources, and Youth for Christ people are going to help a lot in our nation. So for that, I'm asking for your prayers and your support. There is a great need in our nation. Young people need to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ. Young people should experience the love of Jesus Christ. And I believe that Youth for Christ is going to be a great tool to help on that. So would you pray for us? Would you stay firm with us? Would you pray and support us? May the Lord bless you and protect you. I'm sending love and greetings from Kosovo.
Now, having that opportunity to help them as Youth for Christ is amazing. And it's through the connection that we somehow made in this past 1.5 years that I'm working as the regional director and try to help. Also, it was one thing to find leaders, another thing how to provide resources, financial help to actually start a ministry there. So I applied to a foundation called Foundation for Nations. It's a Youth for Christ foundation, 180 applicants every year. 40 out of 180 would get the finances and the money and from the partners. So I prayed at least that one country is going through and will get the funds. But by God's grace and the partners that loved the story of the countries like Macedonia, Albania, and Kosovo, all three countries got their funds for 1.5 years to actually start the ministry there. So that was a big blessing for me to hear. And Albania is working a lot with gypsies and Romas, right? And in communities where girls need to be married when they're 12, where you have to get money, and if you don't get money during the day, you will have to sleep outside, not inside. So it's a really tough community where they work and help, and with medicine, with skills, teach them how to cook, or have Bible stories through showing and dancing because they like to dance, and so things like that is something what they do. And the leader is Johnny, called Johnny or Jonathan. It's him, and they do sport ministry a lot, and Youth for Christ is helping now him as well to be the leader of Youth for Christ and to create ministries across Albania. So kind of to give you an overview of what is going on, not just in Croatia, but in the whole region. And I will ask you to pray for that part of Europe. As you know, the history was not brilliant. It was really horrifying. But what we want to see is young people coming to Christ.
So Ruben, can you share with the Ruth the story about that, the pastor in Kosovo or one of those?
So in Kosovo, I had meetings with pastors, and there was a particular pastor from Đakovica. He's living just at the border with Albania in Kosovo. And he said, Ruben, I want to share with you my story, how I became a Christian and how I became a pastor. So he said, when the war was still going on and the Serbian people came into my country, they started to kill everyone. And we knew that they are coming, so we fled into the forest. All people that left in the village, in the city, Đakovica and nearby villages were killed. You could have been a teenager, you've been killed. Cows, dogs, cats, everything was killed. Nothing could stay alive. That was the ethnic cleansing that was going on in that time. So he was running away with his family, and they had no food. And so 7 of them, I think he was 17 in that time, they decided to get some food from the village. and they entered the village in a house and they found some food, but decided to stay overnight and slept. And during the time they were sleeping, in the middle of the night, soldiers came in, Serbian soldiers, kicked the door down, kicked them up, and he said, I was so confused, I was trying to figure out where my shoes are. And the soldier said, you don't need your shoes anymore. And then it hit him that he's gonna be shot, that he's gonna die in a few seconds after that. So they kicked them up and put them on the wall. And he said, all of a sudden, Ruben, I heard a voice. And I'm sure today it was God's voice telling me to turn my face towards the soldier. So I turned myself towards the soldier, my face, and the soldier was angry. He said, turn yourself towards the wall. But he said, no, if you want to shoot me in the face. And he was staying. Then the soldier was even more angry. He started to raise his weapon. And in that moment, like in movies, NATO airplanes came in and started to bombarding all the place, and they left everything, weapons, everything, and they left the premises. And the boys stayed alive, and him including. And in that moment, he promised, Lord, this was you doing to me, and I will be the pastor of this city of mine. And so he's a pastor now of Žakovica, of a great church in Žakovica. And now he's on the board of Youth for Christ, which is even better. Yeah. So great stories of people that came to believing Jesus Christ through war situations, through all kinds of living in a Muslim country is not easy. And they have a great need. Alban mentioned that they are the youngest country in Europe. They may be the youngest country in the world, because 70% of the population in Kosovo is under 35. So it's amazing to see on the square so many young people. The problem they have is nobody wants to stay in Kosovo. So if we don't do something about that, then they will die off. Because everybody's dream is to finish school and to leave the place somewhere in the West, go to Germany or elsewhere, just far away from Kosovo, because of the history, because of the corruption, because of so many things that are not holding them there. So in this kind of situations, I'm helping to establish Youth for Christ all over the Balkan area. But to be able to sustain this, I need help. And this is why I'm here for 2 months without my family, trying to raise some support for Croatia Youth for Christ, but also for the Balkans as well, and to continue my work. So do you have questions maybe that I can answer? And sorry it took so long. I know it's but it was kind of trying to show you also the past, how we did things, which means that all projects like Stations of the Cross is still in the box, and we'll use it as soon as we can. We already have schools ready, but we try to figure out because of COVID to enter, right?
What is the current government of Kosovo? Is it corrupt? Is it a good government? What are they doing good things in the country?
I would say they're doing some good things, but the motives are bad. Because when you do some good things, like you build roads, if you want to make money, you build roads, right? And then you can be corrupted. You can get a lot of money out of doing something like that. In a sense, he's helping, but there is a reason why they're helping. Always to make money, to make connections. And that's actually dangerous, because the pastors are starting to be in this business kind of, way of thinking, how to make money, but it's not about money, right? And so there needs to be education of how the world should actually function.
Do they speak English mostly, as well as the local language?
They speak Albanian and English. Most of them can communicate. The pastors I know, and I met also the president of the alliances of. There is a Protestant alliance in Kosovo called KPAC, Christian Evangelical Alliance,
Christian Missionary.
Protestant Alliance, KPAC. And he speaks fluently English, so I could communicate. I was asking him as well, do you need Jesus for Christ? I was not going just to the pastors, but also to the top people of alliances and Christian organizations to see how we can help.
Are there universities there?
Can I, Miley, just
Yes, Ruben, in your travels through the United States, as you've spoken to people in church communities, have you ever had an experience of a youth group adopting a commitment to be supportive of the youth that you minister to? Like the youth to youth kind of commitment.
the commitment the youth would do is helping, being volunteers. I would say more this kind of commitment that was easier than being able to support by money, right? So it was in a way that goes for the church as well. It was always tough for us to ask for money from the church because they had they could hardly finance a pastor, a full-time pastor. That, by the way, is new in Yugoslavia, in Croatia. So you never had full-time pastors before. In the past, it was you doing a regular job and then being a volunteer in the church and being a pastor.
So Ruben, I'm thinking more in terms of using technology and Zoom, for example, that youth in America could be encouragers or to become have relationship by technology with the youth in Croatia, for example.
Yeah.
That they could communicate back and forth.
It's actually a great idea, Mari. Yeah, I think that that's very possible. They always, because they know a lot about America, and that was something that I was trying also to do, how to actually, for our young people, experience your ministry as well here, because it was always the other way around. It was your young people being exposed to our culture, to the ministry in Croatia. But what about our young people coming here and experiencing your needs and ministries that you have around America? That creates relationship. Because once you have somebody coming just for a mission trip and goes back home, they don't relate anymore. But if you build the mutual relationship, I think that could be interesting. I would love that. I have not seen it yet, but I would love it.
Call it Zoom buddies.
That's right.
Instead of pen pals, Zoom buddies.
That's a great idea, Mari. Thank you. So you were.
Oh, that's okay. I don't know that much about Kosovo, so I was just trying to understand a little bit more about the country and the people and how it works, basically.
Yeah. Basically, most of the Kosovo is Albanian. And at one point, they didn't fit into the Serbia idea and country, and they wanted their independence. But you still have a great minority, Serbian minority living there. And this is where the tensions happen.
Okay.
And Serbia didn't want to give up Kosovo. They always thought Kosovo is theirs. So this is why I was present at the conference just after the war, and still fresh in Kosovo, Serbia and Albania and everything. And we had Albanian people from Kosovo and Serbian people from Kosovo and from Serbia. So it was an interesting mixture. And at one point, the Serbian people were very angry, and they were in a room. So we are talking about people from the Orthodox Church that were part of this conference. And they were talking about how to react on Albanians having their own addresses, because they're not saying they're from Republic of Serbia. They're saying they're from Kosovo. So they came back and said, if the organizer of the conference will not change the addresses of their people, of the people of Albania, they will leave the conference. And then the Albanian said, but if I change the no letter will come to my address. This is my address, so we will not change it. And if you change it, we will leave the conference. So you can imagine the organizers had a tough moment, what to do in that moment. So they, this evening was done, right? No lectures, no nothing, because we had this atmosphere in the air, this tension on a peace conference. And so they came up with another idea. They said, all the official addresses that you have on the paper, you can tear if you want. If not, you take it home. If you don't like it, just tear it out. We will make new ones just with email addresses. And that's it.
Yeah, email addresses.
So it was a quick solution. I would say a brilliant one.
Yeah.
Not to lose people and to have a peace conference. But the tension was certainly in the air. Yeah. But let me give you one last story of a great woman. And Howard, you and Miley, they have heard of this story more than once, but it was an inspiration to me. It's about a woman that was in Berak, lived in Berak. She's a Catholic, and during the war, they were having this, family killed, and it's Serbian that attacked her village, and it was horrific. She had to run. And having seen all the horrific things that soldiers did to her village, she was angry. She hated Serbian people. She just couldn't stand. And we were talking about hatred, right? It's this hatred that is in you. And now the war is over. And somebody invited her to a nonviolent peace workshop. She was in that time almost 60. She didn't even know what the workshop is, but she went anyway to that workshop. And in that workshop, peace workshop, the woman that was leading the workshop said that we should forgive, that having inner peace, to forgive ourselves, because we have a problem, not the others. And she was getting angry and more angry and red in the face. She couldn't stand it. What is she talking about? That I should forgive something what I did to my relatives, to kids? No way. She was so angry that she took that lady and threw it on the floor. So angry was she. Had lots of energy. But they talked it through, and the trainer, the coach, she took her home later with the car. But that moment changed her life, actually. That moment when she started to think about what she heard on that workshop, started to change her life and started to believe in God in the proper way. And she started to be the biggest peacemaker ever in Croatia. She's now organizing every year prayer gatherings, and is going to the Orthodox Church, to the mosque, to the Catholic Church, everywhere to pray. He's gathering Muslims, Orthodox, Catholics all together and praying together. Why? Because she thinks that this cannot happen again. And then she's eager to do peace work. So it was interesting. At one moment, she wanted to organize a conference, bringing Serbian people from Borovo to Berak, to her village. Like a couple of buses full of people. She prepared with a lot of volunteers this conference, and the conference should have been 2 days, in 2 days' time. And the mayor said, no way, you're not going to organize a conference with Serbs in this village. There will be no way. And she was very, concerned. What will she do? I mean, this conference is just starting. And so you can imagine an old woman having at home 50 pigs and cows and, you know, all kinds of, and working field, but she's a peace worker. And she has on one side a sewing machine, on the other side she has a fax machine and computer. She was actually that evening riding to Brussels, the European nation, saying what happened to her village and what the mayor said. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, a policeman came to her door, knocking, said, "Grandma, do you need some kind of protection?" She said, "Why do I need protection? Or what for? You know what for. You really know what for." But she said, no, I'm okay. But the mayor next day gave a letter to her that she can actually organize the conference. He got the message from above that he cannot stop it. So that's how she functions.
So
It's an amazing woman.
The policeman was offering her protection from the Serbs.
Yes.
Coming,
Yeah. No, also from, you know, it's kind of, you know, what she's trying to do, it's more from the village and people from the village that are still angry at the Serbs, and she's bringing Serbs in. So she, you know, but she was like eager, that needs to happen. So this woman is has such an energy and a will and character. And I said one day, I said to her, you know what, Dragica is her name. I'm glad that you didn't live in Jesus' time. And she was like, why? Jesus would not have been sacrificed. It's, you know, when you have a person like that in the wrong direction, she can do a lot of damage.
Right.
But the Lord touched her, and she's doing really a lot of good things. I'll stop here.
Okay.